Relevant experience being something along the lines of, after being abducted by jellyfish aliens, I wrote this story about alien abductions. Normal. Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Emily, and a couple weeks ago we went over how to write a professional author bio, so today we are going to go over how to write a cover letter. Same disclaimer as last week, this is how I write a cover letter, and it works great for me. Other people might have different advice, and that's fine. So these are my 7 tips on how to write an author cover letter. Let's go. Tip number 1 is that cover letters for short stories and cover letters for novels are usually 2 different things. Today I'll be talking about writing cover letters for short stories, since that is generally what I'm knowledgeable in and what I have done approximately a million times. If you're interested in writing a cover letter for a query letter, I have an excellent resource at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. Tip number 2 is, once again for the millionth time, follow the rules. They're helpful. Most magazines, if you check out their submission page, will tell you what they want to hear in your cover letter. Makes it pretty easy. They'll also tell you what they don't want to hear in your cover letter. Go read those guidelines. Tip number 3 is to ensure you are addressing your cover letter to the right person. Right off the bat, you want to make sure you are addressing your cover letter to a person who actually works at the magazine. Yes, this happens. There's nothing worse than saying, "Dear Editor X," when Dear Editor X has not worked there for a long time and is now Editor Y in charge. You avoid this by reading through the guidelines and reading the About page on the magazine, even if you've submitted there before. Sometimes editors change, and just because you know the general guidelines doesn't mean you know who's reading your story right now. If you don't know who to address the letter to, or you feel uncomfortable addressing it to an editor, it's fine to say, "Hello, good morning, dear editors," or "Dear Magazine." Magazine name, don't say "Dear Magazine." Personally, I only address cover letters to an editor if I've worked with them in some capacity before, and I know that they're going to be the first person to actually read the story, because lots of magazines go through slush readers first before even getting to the senior editor. But if I have sold a story to this magazine before, have had a rewrite request, or the editor has personally asked me to submit again, then I will address it personally to them. Other than that, I usually just say hello. Tip number 4 is give information about your story, but don't give a summary of the story unless they ask for one. Make sure to include the name, genre, and length of your story in the cover letter. This is basically the main purpose of the cover letter, and will make sure the editor can find your story if the attachment somehow gets lost in the great void of email. It also lets the editor know that your story is the right length and genre for their magazine, and that you haven't sent them something totally out of left field. Tip number 5 is to include past publications and or relevant experience. This was also in my bio tips video, somewhere up here. You can go check that out if you want, but the basic idea is this. If you have previous publication credits, have published a novel or novella, have self-published a novel or novella, have attended a prestigious workshop like Clarion or Clarion West, or have any relevant experience to what you're writing, these are all great things to include in your cover letter. Relevant experience being something along the lines of, after being abducted by jellyfish aliens, I wrote this story about alien abductions. Normal. If you have multiple publications to your name, I would recommend listing the top 3 that you're most proud of, or again, the number that the editor says on the submission page. If you don't have any previous publication credits, it's totally fine, just don't list anything. Lots of editors like to find brand new writers to publish for the first time. And also, if you have been published in that magazine that you are submitting to, absolutely make sure to mention it in the cover letter. Tip number 6 is, if the magazine asks for anything else, make sure to include that. But basically, you're done. That was essentially all the information you need to write a professional cover letter. If it seems too short, that's probably your writer brain getting in the way. Happens to me. Happens to us all. Cover letters are essentially giving the editor the information they need, and if you have done that and they don't ask for anything else in the submission page, you are free to sign off and send the email. Tip number 7 is, if you are looking for info on query letter cover letters, or basically anything to do with query letters whatsoever, I have 2 resources for you, both from the same awesome lady. Her name is Janet Reed. She runs the Query Shark blog and also a personal blog. The Query Shark blog has hundreds of query letters that people have sent in to her to be critiqued, and then she puts the critiques up You can send your letter in and maybe get critiqued, but it's super useful information. I like reading them even though I don't plan to query and I plan to self-publish. They're really great and she's hilarious. On her personal blog, she uploads something about the traditional publishing industry. Almost every day, people send her questions and she answers them. Again, she is hilarious and super knowledgeable. She is part of the New Leaf Literary Agency. That literary agency as a whole represents people like Veronica Roth, Leigh Bardugo, and Suzanne Dennard. So yeah, she knows what she's doing. She is super easy to find online, but I will link her stuff in the description below. And once again, since examples are great, here is an example of my standard cover letter for sending out a short story. Hello and or dear editor, I'm sending my 3,400 word science fiction story, best story title ever. My fiction has appeared in Beneath Ceaseless Skies, Shimmer, Galaxy's Edge, and elsewhere. Thank you for your time and consideration. I hope you enjoy the story. Emily McCosh. And that is literally it. Super simple, super easy. You're on your way to having the editor look at your brilliant story. So that's my 7 tips for writing a professional cover letter, plus an example. Thank you all for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ding the little notification bell. I upload videos on Fridays about books and or writing and or movies. I will see all of you guys next week. Bye! Jeez. Coronavirus. Oh god, sorry, that was bad taste. I'm sorry.